Hey everybody, I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel and welcome to my life. I'm excited today, you guys. I started this build first. This is Riza. This is a nice, beautiful sapele or mahogany back. The guy at the wood store says it's sapele, but mahogany, sapele, you know, they're sold as kind of the same thing these days. With a beautiful flame maple top from C. Jacobs Woods. There's the Riza build, you guys, and this is tele based, obviously. So what I'm thinking about doing on this guitar, I am a fan of brightly colored guitars, especially ones that have flame tops. Now, I like traditional tobacco burst and sunburst and the violin colors. I love that too. But for this particular build, I'm thinking bright and bold, possibly blue. So we're just going to work on this body. I'm going to sand this because it's a really open grain wood. This Eagle Abrasives Super Acelix is some really phenomenal stuff. And it was a gift to me. And I've been told it's expensive, but you know, from what I can tell, it's worth whatever it cost. It'd have to be really expensive for me to turn my nose up at it, because I sell 3M sandpaper. 3M sandpaper is not cheap either. I've found out and have been taught many, many lessons since I started building. But one of those lessons is top quality products cost money. You have to pay for them. And I've made this statement several times on the channel. When it comes to sandpaper, you got to use sandpaper like you're spending somebody else's money to buy it. We're going to bust out the sander on this thing. I've got a couple little dings and scratches that's been sitting around for a while. So let's sand this body a little. Got my sander on a medium speed. I got 220 grit on the sander. I don't want to go above that. I want to keep it at 220 for now. And any little stains, this will take care of that as well. You know, don't skimp on sandpaper, and absolutely do not skimp on time. All right, that feels really nice. I'm going to take some 320 and wrap it around my little motor guard block here and use it to try and finalize that bevel. I've got a couple of scratches in here I can see. So just like that, I love this little motor guard block too. This thing is really a lifesaver. And this will absolutely assure us that we have a nice hard line on that bevel. And I don't see any file marks or anything left on here. There were just a couple little imperfections in the wood. And another thing about oiling this guitar, I'm not going to grain fill it. I'm going to leave the grain showing through the oil. Mahogany looks beautiful oiled. This is a Durablock round. It's about 1 inch. And the way I use this thing is I take a little self-adhesive sandpaper. And this is just sander file paper. It's like 2 3/4 inches wide. Put it on there like that. And this thing works great for getting down in these little kind of areas like this. One more thing I'll show you guys, which I think is a really useful tool as well, is this complicated device right here known as a paint steering stick. We're going to take a piece of 320 on it, just like this. We're going to level it up on one side. You can leave yourself about a 1/16 or so over as far as hangover. Make sure you got a nice hard edge right here, and take my scalpel or any kind of knife or razor blade. We'll use a razor blade. Take a razor blade and trim off that excess. Now that gives us a flat sanding block that's easy to maneuver. This is making sure that we don't leave a round in our bevel. I love guitar. I love everything about a guitar. I love the sound of a guitar. I love the way one feels. You plug this thing into an amp, and it's almost like it, I guess it's based on who's playing it, but it's almost like the thing possesses a life of its own. It is really a special, special instrument. It really is. I absolutely just love a guitar. All right, you guys, I went ahead and finished sanding this body off camera. What we're going to do now, and something I need to get done before tomorrow so we can actually make some headway. So what I've decided I'm going to do, we're going for a black to blue burst on this. And I'm thinking about doing a 3-color, black to like a royal blue to a turquoise blue in the middle. I think that'll look really cool. And in general, the rule in staining is you start with your lighter colors first. However, because I want to accent the flame on this, we're going to stain this whole body black. I'm just going to take half of a paper towel, fold it up here. I've got Angelus Jet Black leather dye, and I'm probably going to put 2 coats of this on here. So I'm going to start at the middle and drag our way towards the edge. This is going to highlight that flame, and when we come back tomorrow, we will start sanding back the center of this body. I want to make sure that I double coat so I get down in the pores of that mahogany. So we're just going to keep wiping this until I'm satisfied that it's dark enough. I'm going to sand this middle back. What I'm going to go for on this guitar is a black. I don't want the black too far in. I want to go from a black to a darker blue, then a light blue in the center. That's what we're going to do. On the back, I'm going to go from a black to a natural mahogany. Let's get sanding. We got some work to do. I'm pretty excited today. I was just watching the live stream from Crimson, and Ben actually asked everyone to come check out my YouTube channel. So I hope you guys take his advice. I hope you enjoy it, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. I'm just going to sand this center. Not only the center, I'm going to move on out to the edges too. All this flat I want to be color. I want to get as much of this black off as I can, and then we'll blend in a darker blue outside edge into a turquoise in the middle. Now this top's obviously not as stunning as the Requiem build, but it does have some nice flame on it. You know, that's a nice flame. I wanted to do this with the using stain this time, just so I can have the experience. All right, you guys, so I've got some news. I came down here Sunday. I filmed all day long. I changed quite a bit of things about the Riza build. First of all, I changed the body shape. I cut off that lobe that we had up here. I shortened this this cutaway down. I dropped this cutaway further into the body a little. My memory card got full. I pulled the memory card out of the camera, put it in my little cup over here. I usually take it up to the house with me when I'm done at night. dump all that footage from that day into the computer. I did not take the memory card up to the house with me Sunday night. So as scatterbrained as I have a tendency to be, Monday night I got back down here, I filled up another memory card. Well, without thinking, I grabbed that other memory card that I had put in that cup, popped it back in the camera, hit format. So I erased literally all the work that I did to reshape this body. So I hope you guys aren't going to hold it against me. Things happen sometimes, especially in my world. There's a disadvantage sometimes to building the way I do. And I'm not going to say I'll never freeform build again, because that'd be ridiculous. I love building that way. But for my next 2 or 3 builds, maybe 4 builds, I am going to start to finish plan those guitars up front. I'm going to make myself stick to that plan all the way through. I'm going to template build 3 or 4 guitars. I've got some new templates on the way from my buddy Steve at Maximum Guitar Works in Colorado. Anyway, I think that will give me a little bit more of a learning experience when it comes to building and how I need to go about things. It'll allow me to order things out a little bit better and prioritize all my process. I think the fact that I'm wanting to teach, the guys who want to learn and myself, I think that will be a more solid way to get the lesson across. I really want to get great at this, and I have no doubt that I will. I just got to get some more experience. I don't feel like I'm doing right if I don't come down here every single day of my life and do a little something at least. This is what I do at this point. I'm a guitar builder. That's what I do. And I don't want to be anything else. That's exactly, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And I'm telling you guys, that is so freeing. When I got into guitar building, thank you, Ben Crowe, by the way, because he is really the one that inspired me to say, I think I need to start building some guitars, Well, that first guitar for the Great Guitar Build-Off, then that turned into a lifelong dream, ultimately. So I owe Ben a huge debt of gratitude, and I know so many of us do. So, Ben, if you watch this video, brother, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. We're going to keep cooking on this build at this point. I just want to let you guys know what my plans are for the future and give you some kind of heads up as to what kind of changes I'm planning on making. Everybody in this community is just great people. So if you guys are thinking about getting into guitar building, do your networking, comment on some other guys' videos, ask questions. From what I found since I started doing this, everybody I've asked has been more than happy to help me. Think about what you want to do and then ask some questions and find out if that's the right way to do it or not, because there's 1,000 different ways to do this stuff, some of it especially, and not everybody does it the same way. Make your own decision from that based on the tools that you have available to you, the money that you're willing to spend to get into this, because I can tell you right now it's not cheap, but it is very rewarding. I've never had anything in my life be as rewarding as this. Yeah, I'm just going to let this stuff dry and then I'll wipe it on again. And if this does not work and I see some weird crap going on around the edge where I sanded, then we'll go to plan B. There's what we're looking like so far. All right, you guys, well, I'm completely disappointed in the results. The stain took fine to the mahogany, but there's no way I'm going to get that line out of there. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to sand it all off. We're going to redo this. In my haste last night, I did some work on the Riza build that I did not film. Let me go back a little. When I first started this build, I had it in my mind that I was going to do a somewhat telly-based guitar. Well, that changed. I made a body shape that looks somewhat like a Tele. I'm using a Tele bridge. I'm using a Tele bridge pickup and a single coil in the neck, so I deviated slightly from the standard Tele setup immediately. Then I started thinking about color. Once I got the top glued on and saw the build coming together, I got the pickups routed in, the rear cavity, all that stuff, the neck pocket. The longer I looked at it, the more I started to dislike the curves that I had, especially in the upper area. And we'll talk about this. I'll show you guys where I'm at now. I did some shape changing on it. I took it back to the spindle sander, sanded that in, got it like I liked it. I'm really happy with the shape now, way happier than I was with the previous shape anyway. I stained the guitar blue. I started paying really close attention to what kind of finish I was getting. I rubbed 1 coat of True Oil on this thing. As soon as I put the True Oil on it, I saw a bunch of sand and scratches that I did not notice with just the stain there. And mainly they were on my bevel, so they were going to stick out like a sore thumb. You could see them. I had the black surround all the way around the outside edge, fading into that purplish blue color. Well, I sanded all the finish off of it. While I had all the finish sanded off of it, I started to consider other color options. I said, all right, well, let's try a traditional, like a kind of a violin burst, a brown to honey kind of a burst on it. So I did that. I hated it. It just did not suit this guitar at all. I love the color. I just didn't like the way it accented the grain on this build, and I was not happy with how the mahogany looked under the brown. So I sanded all that back off, went back to blue. Then I noticed, because I didn't take enough time, obviously at that point I was a little bit beside myself, questioning whether or not I had made the right decision. I didn't spend enough time sanding around the outside edge of the bevel. I had a couple of areas that looked like they were rounded over. So I said, all right, I'm going to give this a couple of days, let this sink in, figure out what I want to do to this guitar. And this was earlier this week. I came down here Monday night with the intentions of going back to the original plan. I stained the whole thing black to start with, sanded it all back. Then I started wiping the blue on. I did the black around the outside edge. But no matter what I did, I could not get that black to be completely opaque around the outside edge on the mahogany. So then I started testing, sanding that back a little bit, even though the top was absolutely to the point that I was happy with it, and I did not want to mess the top up. I spent a long time getting this stain like I wanted it. And I used Angelus leather dye on this. So I tried unicorn spit, I tried everything on that black. Nothing was opaque enough to cover up the mahogany. And I only was going to do that on the front, leave the sides natural, the back natural, and go ahead and oil this guitar and get it ready to assemble. The more I started thinking about it, I was like, you know, I think I'm going to do one of those 3-tone top guitars. So like a stained top, the natural color of the top wood in my bevel down to a mahogany. So this is where we are now. This, in my opinion, is way cooler than what it looked like with the black around the outside edge. Had I used paint for this, I could have been done with this guitar the first time. That's not giving me any experience, considering I've already done that kind of stuff. So I wanted to carry this start to finish with a finishing process that I'm not necessarily comfortable doing. I'm finally happy with the results that I've been able to get on this guitar. I don't expect this style or this shape to win any awards or anything, you know. I'm happy with it though. So I'm going to take this thing over to the spindle sander. We're going to sand these edges clean. And then before I do anything else to it, we're going to get a couple of coats of sealer put on this body. Now what I'm going to use, Osmo wood wax, apply a couple of coats of that to this top, and finish this guitar just like I finished the Requiem body with Osmo Pollux oil. I got to get all this black stain off of this. And plus I've got a little bit too much mahogany showing on this back edge and it's not even. So I want to clean that up a little bit on the spindle sander. So let's get to work. 80 grit drum on the sander. I kept on working for a little bit and got this back like I wanted it. Got all that mahogany to where it's not showing anymore. I'm going to take care of this little bit of mahogany right here. I've put the neck in the body. This is the Riza build at this point. I like the way this transition goes up into this neck, but I want to get rid of that mahogany right there. We've got really nice access to the upper frets down here. Let's get over to the spindle sander and finish up this sanding we got to do here. All right, so again, all I'm doing is smoothing out this and making this mahogany go away so it's only maple right here. I just think that'll look better. Then we'll switch over to a 240 drum. We'll get the perimeter of this thing sanded and smoothed out like we want it. Let's get that going. And I'm going to work on that first. What do you guys think about that? I mean, drop me a couple of comments and let me know if you like the shape or not. I'm just cleaning up this outside line around here is all I'm doing. I want that edge as hard as I can get it. I'm pretty happy with this. I got one little spot right here. It's right in there. It's just not perfect. I'm going to take a razor blade and I'm just going to barely scrape around that edge. Not so much that it changes everything. Just enough to get rid of that imperfection, or as much of it as I can without going too far. And that pretty much did it right there. Let's make ourselves an applicator. There we go. A little Osmo applicator. And I have found that this is the best way to apply Osmo on this, in this kind of instance. If this was raw wood, using a white Scotch-Brite pad would be the way. But on the first coat, we're using wood wax, which is the extra thin product. No need to thin this out. A little extra light. Let this get nice and saturated with that wood wax oil, because this stuff will drink it like it's nothing. We're ultimately using the wood wax as a sealer and as a base for the Pollux oil, which in my opinion is one of the best oil-based wood finishes that can be had. Osmo makes just an absolute great product. Let the wood give itself a nice drink of this stuff, and then we will come back and do this again, and we will continue doing that until we see puddles form on the surface that do not go away. So there's our first coat down, and it's been sitting here for about 15 minutes. We're going to wipe it all over it again because it's drinking it right up. And this time I'll flip it up on the side and we'll get the sides too. Let's get some Pollux oil put on this guitar. I'm just going to drizzle this over the surface straight off of this stick. Just like so. It takes very little of this stuff. I'm just going to rub this in a circular motion. And I'm going to keep dipping and wiping and rubbing, and I'm just going to really work this down into the pores of the wood, and then we'll leave this to cure overnight, and tomorrow when we come back down we'll keep doing this process until we achieve the level of finish that we want on this guitar. We'll let it cure up for just 15-20 minutes. I'll come back. We'll buff this down with the really soft, like a t-shirt cloth or a microfiber. Let it cure overnight, and we'll come back tomorrow and do this same thing. All right, so there's our first coat of Osmo on this body. All right, everybody, I'm back. We're gonna buff this body down. I think after I get this done, we're gonna call it a night. I'm gonna go up to the house and start editing video and go ahead and drop this video. It's been long enough since I released one, and this will be a good point to do this. You guys pretty much know how the Osmo process works. I finished the Requiem build that way. I released a whole video on how to use Osmo to finish a guitar. So you really don't need to see that, the process. All I've really got left to do to this body before it's in a assembly ready state is to sand the back and apply a coat of oil to it. You know, I got to drill a couple of wiring path holes, but other than that, that's pretty much all I got to do before this guitar gets ready to be assembled. And I got to do the same thing to the neck. The neck's already been final sanded. I need to fret it, but I'll do that on the next video. So let's get this guitar buffed down. We'll put one more coat of oil on here. Now this is tacked up really hard. I think I stayed gone a little bit too long and let this tack up a little bit too much. So I think what we'll do is just wipe another coat on here. That will serve to re-wet the oil that's on here already. And then I'll stay down here, we'll buff this back one more time. So like I said, you know, I'm always telling you guys that I like to be guided by inspiration, and this is where that led me on this particular build. I didn't know how this would be received. Now that I made those changes, I'm actually really happy with this guitar. I think we're coming along nicely, and it makes me feel good that, you know, I've had a couple other people tell me, hey man, I like that shape. So thank you guys, I appreciate it. It makes me feel good, you know. It makes me feel like, all right, well, that'll work. So I mean that, thank you guys. I want to get this buffed back a little before it starts to really go off. That already looks pretty dang cool if you ask me. I really like it. There's what we're looking like so far, you guys. Beautiful. I like it. All right, we're gonna wipe another coat of this stuff on here, and this time I'm not gonna wipe it off. I'm gonna leave it. Although I'm gonna make it nice and thin, I wanna start to build a film at this point. And then I'll come back, we'll take some of our Eagle Asolix Plus abrasive that Richard Edwards so graciously sent me as a gift. Once this stuff's cured, tomorrow evening sometime. Once Osmo cures, you can pretty much treat it just like you would 2K urethane. When it comes to wet sanding and all that stuff, Osmo works with that very well. There we go. I'm going to leave it just like that. I think it's beautiful. You do not want to leave a balled up oil-soaked rag in your garbage can, in your shop. So always unfold it, let it dry, or toss it in a bucket of water. But I wanted to make sure I remembered, because I promised him I would. My nephew, Waylon, this cat loves to fish more than anybody I've ever known. So he started a YouTube channel. It's called Fishing Through the Forest. His name's Waylon Forest. Go check out his YouTube channel, Fishing Through the Forest. Leave a few comments, subscribe to his channel, show him a little bit of love. He's young, he's trying to get his ideas across to everybody, just like we all are. So you guys drop him a subscribe. It'll make him feel really good, I'm sure. So peace, Waylon. Good job, brother. All right, you guys, this is Todd from Sweet Tea Guitars. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's all over the place, just like my head was during this part of this build. I've made some decisions as far as how the final build's gonna be, so there will be no more of that. I'm not gonna do any more of these choppy, wishy-washy videos. Everything from now on is gonna be with more structure. I'm gonna try to get back on track about making these tutorial based, trying to help the guys that are trying to learn how to do this. So that's my goal on YouTube. That's why I'm doing this. Not only to grow my channel and to grow my business, but to help other people who want to get into building guitars, because this is an absolute beautiful thing. Building guitars has changed my life, and it has the power to change your life too. We got the holidays coming up here, so I hope everybody has a really great holiday season. I love every one of you. Thank you so much for the kind words and comments and all the camaraderie that we share on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm so happy and so glad to be a part of this community, and I appreciate you accepting me into the fold. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your life to spend a little time with me here in the shop. If you like this video or any of my content, give a thought to pressing that subscribe button and hitting that notification bell. I'd really appreciate it. And try your best to remember until next time. Instead of giving any amount of thought to what you wish someone else would do, be the purveyor of your own greatest idea. Peace and love.